Hello, I'm Johan Sandeblad and I'm the author of Notebook Navigator, the Obsidian plugin. In this video, I walk you through everything you need to know about getting started quickly with Notebook Navigator and also mastering some of the advanced features. I have already started to prepare a demo vault. It's called Demo and it has 4 folders: Resources, AI, Photo and Tech Insights. Let's get started. The first thing we need to do is to install Notebook Navigator. You do that by going to Settings, either by clicking the button in the lower left corner here, or you press Command, like this. You then click on Community Plugins, and if this is the first time you enable Community Plugins, you first need to click the button Turn on Community Plugins, like this. You then click Browse, and just enter Notebook, and you should see the plugin right away. Click on Notebook Navigator, and click on Install. When it's finished, just click on Enable and close the window, like this. Okay, as you can see, the left panel has now been replaced by Notebook Navigator. Each file is now represented by the name, a preview text, and a featured image, if it has one. The default display mode of Notebook Navigator, if you have a thin left panel, is in single pane mode. To switch it to dual pane mode, you click the back button in the top left corner, and then you click the button again, which now says Show Dual Panes. You then need to resize the left panel a bit, and let's also resize the navigation pane a bit. As you can see, I have my folders here as well: Resources, AI, Photo and Tech Insights, but I also see tags that are present in my notes in the tags view like this. So I just want to quickly change a few settings in Notebook Navigator first. For example, I don't want all the images from resources to be shown in my list here. So I go to Settings, and at the bottom now you can see I have a new group called Notebook Navigator. You click it, and to hide the resources folder, you see that it begins with an underscore. You just go to Hide Folders and just write slash, underscore, and star. This means that all folders in the root that have an underscore will now be hidden from Notebook Navigator. I will also go into the list pane settings and change the default sort mode. The default sort mode is date edited with newest on top, and let's change it to date created instead with newest on top. And we close it like that. And now we can see we don't see our images in the resources folder, and we see all our files to the right here in the list pane. You can also see if files have tags like this. You have the OpenAI tag. They are also listed with the tags visible. And you can even click on a tag like this to go to the tag and see all the notes with that tag. If you wanted to quickly see the hidden files you have in the vault, you can click the Show Hidden Files button at the top. If you click on this one, your hidden folders will be shown again, and all the files in those folders will be shown. And if you of course want to hide the notes again, you can just click the hide button and they are hidden again, like that. The main window of Notebook Navigator is split into 2 panes. The left pane is called the navigation pane. Here's where you can see your shortcuts, your recent files, your folders and your tags. And to the right you have the list pane, and here you see all the files in your vault. To the top of the list pane, you have different buttons. You have search button, you have a sort button, you have an appearance button, and you have a button for new note. You also have this button, which is called Show Notes from Subfolders and Descendants. And this is maybe one of the most important buttons in entire Notebook Navigator. So let's talk about this one. This button means that you will show all notes in the current folder and all subfolders in the same list. So for example, if I click on Tech Insights here, you can see that in the left pane here, you see that it says 494. And it means that you have 4 notes in the Tech Insights folder, and you have 94 notes in the subfolders. So if I disable the Show Notes from Subfolders here, you will only see notes in your current folder. So for example, if I go into Photo and I click the Photo button, it's empty. And you can see click Nature, and I have 4 notes in the Nature folder. If I then enable show notes from subfolders or descendants, you will then see all the notes from the nature and the astro folder at the same time. This also works with tags. So if you click the AI tag here, you will see all the tags that are within the AI and all the subtags from it. But if you disable show notes from descendants, you will only see the notes within a specific folder or tag, like this. So if you start up Notebook Navigator and you get overwhelmed with all the notes in your list pane, this is probably why. So if you don't like this view, just disable show notes from subfolders and descendants. If you prefer to work in the more compact layout, maybe you don't have room for those dual panes on your computer, you can switch to a much more compact layout. I will show you. You go to the settings and you click the General tab, and you scroll down until you come to desktop appearance. Here you have the dual pane layout and the dual pane orientation. So switch the orientation into vertical split. This means that the two panes are sorted above each other like this. You can then also change the layout of the list pane to be more compact. So let me go to settings again, go to list pane and scroll down to appearance. You can now change the default list mode to compact like this. And you can even make the rows tighter like this, so you get room with more items. And if you really want it to mimic the look of a file browser, you can go to Notes and you can enable icon by file type. This means that you will very quickly be able to identify different file types in your vault. Right now you can see I have only Notes enabled. If I enable show hidden files, now I suddenly see all my images as well in the same list, like this. So if you ever feel that you're getting out of space with this dual pane layout, you can just switch to this. And there are so many different options. For example, as you can see now, the demo, the folder, the name here is not really visible. So I can just go into settings as well and change that to be showing list pane. And that way you can have it even more compact like this. So you see the current folder you are in, and you see all the files, and you see all the folders and tags, like this. Let me just quickly change this back to where we were. So go into this, and we reset this one and set to standard, and we go back to the horizontal split again. And if you sometimes feel that you don't see your list pane, you just need to probably resize the left panel like this. And we go back into demo like this. Okay, let's talk about shortcuts. Shortcuts is the area in the top left corner of Notebook Navigator. It's pinned by default, so if you scroll down the list, you can see that it keeps sticks in the top left corner. If you wanted to scroll with the list, you can click the Unpin Shortcuts button, or you can right-click and choose Unpin Shortcuts, like this. But I prefer to have it pinned. To add items to shortcuts, you can just drag them like this. You can click the Quick Action button like this. This is also very handy for removing them from shortcuts. Or you can just right-click and choose Add to Shortcuts like this. You can also add folders to shortcuts like this. And you can add tags to shortcuts like this. And now if you click a folder or a tag, you will be taken immediately to that location in the vault. Or if you go to the note, you will see that it gets selected automatically. To the right of each shortcut, you will see a number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And these numbers are very useful if you bind your shortcuts to quick commands. And you do that in settings. You go to hotkeys and you can search for shortcut. And now I'm going to bind my first shortcut to Control 1, the second to Control 2, and the third to Control 3. Now, if I click Control 1, I'm getting the first node, Control 2, the second, and Control 3. So this is a very handy way to quickly navigate around the vault and navigating into folders or tags as well. You can also rename shortcuts by right-clicking them and just picking rename and label them to something else if they are too large to fit on the screen. When talking about shortcuts, there are two other shortcuts I would really recommend that you change. The first one is open. And I have set it already, but this is the shortcut used when you switch from editing in Obsidian back to Notebook Navigator. So I typically have this one bound to Command-Shift-E. And what this does is that when you are in the text editor and you want to put keyboard input back into the list pane, I now press Command-Shift-E and I can now navigate around in the vault. You go from list pane to navigation pane with left, and you go from navigation pane to list pane with right. You can also use Shift tab and tab, of course, and you move up and down. You also have multi-selection, so you can click items, for example, like this. You can hold Shift to move up and move down, and this, and you can also then, if you want to, add many items to shortcuts like that. So this settings is really handy. The open setting, Notebook Navigator open. Before leaving shortcuts and hotkeys, there's one other settings I want you to change, and that is the create new note. By default in Obsidian, you can choose between 3 different ways to store new notes. It's either in the top of your vault, it's in a specific folder, or it's in the same folder as the current note. This doesn't really work very well with Notebook Navigator, because when you create new notes, you typically want them to be placed in the folder you have selected in Notebook Navigator. So I would really recommend that you unbind create new note by default and bind it instead to Notebook Navigator. So now if I click the nature folder here, and you can see I have no notes selected in this folder. So if I would have used the built-in Obsidian command, the notes would have been created where my currently selected note is located, not in the nature folder. But if I now click Command New N like this, you can see that the note is created in the folder that I had selected in the navigation pane. And this is really, really useful if you are using this a lot. Let's talk more about the navigation pane. The navigation pane has 4 sections: shortcuts, recent files, demo, and tags. Let's say you are primarily a tag user, then you probably don't want folders to be shown about tags. So what you can do then is you go into the top button here called Reorder Navigation. You click that, and then you just move tags to be shown above folders like this. And if I close it down the ordering, you can now see I have the tags on top, and you have my folders below. So if you primarily work with tags, this is probably the way you want things structured. You can also reorder root items. For example, if there are specific tags or folders that you use often, you can put them at the top of the list if you don't want to use alphabetical ordering. And when it comes to ordering, there's also another sort order for tags. So if you go into settings, and we go into the folders and tags section like this, and we go into tags, you can see you have a option called tag sort order, A to Z. If you change this instead to frequency, you will have your most used tags at the top instead, and sorted in on frequency. This is very handy if you have lots of tags, like hundreds of thousands of tags. You just put the most used tags on top, like this. Okay, let's talk about the list pane. At the top of the list pane, you have 5 buttons: search, show notes from subfolders, descendants, sort order, appearance, and new note. The default sort order is changed in settings, but you can then override this for each folder or tag. So if I go up to sort order here and click title 8 on top, it's only changed for this folder. So if I go to another folder, you can see that it changes back to the default order. You can also see that you have set a custom value since the button is highlighted like this. If you want to revert it, you just click default, date created, like that. You can also override some of the appearance parameters per folder. For example, compact mode for some folders if you want that. Or you can change the number of title rows if you have long titles for folders like this. Or you can change the number of preview rows. For example, if you don't want 2 lines of preview rows for specific folders, or you want maybe 5 rows for specific folders, you can change it like that. And of course, you can also change the grouping. By default, it's grouped by date. You can remove grouping altogether if you want to, but you can also group by folder. And this means in this case that it's sorted by subfolders. So we go to top here, you can see that it's sorted by the AI first, and you get all the AI notes, and then you have all the photo notes afterwards, like that. So it's all depending on how you want things to do. Remember that these settings are per tag and folder, and they are not the default settings. If you want to change the default settings, you go to settings, list pane, and you have you can choose here how you want to sort them and so on and group them. Like that. Okay, let's talk about search. Search is accessed with the search button at the top of the list pane. So if I quickly wanted to see all my notes that has Sony in the file name, I just write Sony like this. And you can also filter by tags. As you can see in the bottom here, you have a note with a 50mm tag. So if I quickly wanted to see all the notes with the name Sony that also has the 50mm tag, I just write 50 like this, and I can now see all the notes with the 50mm tag. And you can also see in the navigation pane here that the tag 50mm is marked with green color like this. You can also see all the notes that do not have this tag by putting exclamation mark before it. The color in the left navigation pane changes to red, and you now only see notes which do not have the 50mm tag. If you want to see notes that have no tags at all, you just remove it like this, and you will now see all notes that have no tags at all. So if you quickly wanted to, if you're working with tags and you quickly want to see which notes you have not tagged and quickly tag them, this is the way to do it. So how do you add tags in Notebook Navigator like this? It's very simple. You can either just click on a note like this and drag it to a tag like this. This adds it to the tag and it's removed from the non-tag list. You can also right click and pick add tag, and they have a search tag model like this, and you can just add for something like photo, or you can create a new tag if you want to tag. Maybe you want a new Sony tag. Sony. And now the note was added to a new Sony tag like this. Or you can also even drag multiple notes to tags like this to tag them. And now I'm done, and I can close this search filter. The search filters are actually very handy. So for example, say I just search for something like Sony like this, and this is something I do often, then maybe I should just want to save that search. I can click this save search shortcut and Sony cameras, and you can now see at the shortcuts at the top that I have a new shortcut called Sony cameras. So if I remove the search filter, maybe close the search button, I go back to the top here. If I click the filter Sony cameras, it's now enabled. I can search for Sony like this right away. You can also do some pretty advanced things with tags in the search field. For example, if I press Command and press a tag like this, 35mm, it's automatically added to the search field. If I press another tag now and still holding the Command button, it's added with an AND button. So you have the 35mm tag and photo like this. And you can see, of course, it still shows the notes. But if I can also hold down Shift Command. So if I press Command Shift 35mm and Command Shift 50mm, you will now show all the notes with either 35mm or 50mm like this. This is also very handy if you are quickly working with many tags and want to filter them in different ways. I can just save them at top lenses like this. And you can see it's added to the shortcut list to the left. That's search. Okay, let's talk about pin notes. Pinning notes is very handy if you quickly want to access a note that is a bit down in a long list of notes. For example, let's go down to the folder 2025 here. And let's say there is a note here that I access regularly. I can then either click pin note in the quick actions field, or I can right click and choose pin note. This moves it to the top of the list. So even if I go out to another folder and I go back to this folder, I still get this note at the top. This is very handy if there are notes you're working with and you quickly want to get back to them and you quickly want to find them. Notes that are pinned in folders are not automatically pinned in tags. There are different contexts. So you can have a note being pinned in a folder but not pinned in a tag, and so on. Also, if I go up a folder, in this case to take insights, you can see that the note is still pinned. And you can see also have the option show notes from subfolders and descendants on. If I disable it, of course I don't see the note. But if you have many pinned notes, then there's a big risk that your root vault folder will become crowded with dozens of pinned notes at the top. So my recommendation would be that if you feel that you end up with too many pinned notes, go into settings, list pane, and enable limit pinned notes to the folder. This means that the notes will only be shown as pinned in the folder that are existing. So in this case, if I click on Take Insights, it's still in the middle of the list, and I click 2025, it's now pinned to the top of the list in that folder. In this case, I don't have so many pinned notes, so I just keep them pinned wherever they are in whatever hierarchy folder I am working. Let's talk about customization. Every folder and tag can be customized with a custom icon and color. For example, I can right-click the photo icon folder, just click Change Icon, and maybe should write Camera, and change the icon like this. By default, if you go into Change Icon, you can see that there are emoji and lucid icons available. If I want more icons, I can go into Settings and go to Icon Packs, and I can then download one of these icon packs. These icon packs are downloaded straight from the GitHub repository for Notebook Navigator, and they are saved to a database in the device. So there is nothing that is written to your vault. Now when Bootstrap icons are installed, I can go back to Photo, click Change Icon, right Camera, and I now have a bit more different options to choose from. You can also change the different styles. In this case, you can right-click. If you say you wanted this icon to a tag as well, I can then go to Style, Copy Style, scroll down, and maybe paste it to a tag like this. This is very handy if you quickly want to access different styles to many different items. You can also go into files like this and right-click and also paste style into item. This sets icons to files as well. And you can also change colors for different items. If you want to some items to stand out, you can do it like that. One thing to notice is that if you have many tags, in this case, let's add a few tags to this one. Photo, AI, we add Sony as well. We have 3 tags. Let's say you have many tags and you wanted some of the tags to be sorted to the left on the list here. What you can do then is you can set a color to a tag like this. Pick Sony and pick the green color. And the colored tags are always shown to the left in the tag list. This is a quick tips if you have many tags and you quickly want to change which ones are always visible to the left here. Otherwise they are sorted alphabetically. Let's talk a bit about customization. There are just so many different things you can customize in Notebook Navigator. I will just show you one setting which makes the entire navigation pane look completely different. So what we'll do is that we set different colors to our root folders. For example, AI in this case, we change the background color to blue variant like this. We change the photo background color to maybe green variant like this. And we change the Tech Insight background color to a purple color like this. Then we go into settings and we go into folders and tags, and there is a setting in folders that says inherit folder colors. If you enable this one, you can see that the folders inherit the root folder color like this. There's also a setting at if you go into navigation pane and you scroll down to the bottom, there's called root item spacing. So if you increase this value just a bit, you can see that you get some spacing in between the root items like this. Let's leave it at 3 like this. Now we have a completely different look for the navigation pane. You can also customize the styles for almost everything within Notebook Navigator using the Style Settings plugin. So for example, if I go to Settings and I click the plugin Style Settings, if you haven't got it installed, just search for it on Community Plugins. At the top of Style Settings, you have Notebook Navigator, and you can customize almost every single value in the tile plugin here. For example, if I go into the, you have the item board radius, the file count backgrounds. Maybe I want to see the file counts more visible like this. This maybe is better for me with these colors, for example. You can change font weights, colors, styles, basically almost everything in the entire application, how you want it to look. And also if you think that it's like too small or too big, you can go into Notebook Navigator in the navigation pane, and you can, for example, change the indentation for the tree if you want it in a different way here. You can change the item height if you want to fit more things on the screen at the same time. If you are maybe writing in Chinese or in other languages, maybe you don't want the font size to be decreased with the line spacing, like you can change that like that. And you can also in Notebook Navigator change the overall zoom level for the UI. So if you want Notebook Navigator to be bigger or smaller compared to the rest of the interface, you can actually resize the Notebook Navigator interface specifically like that. That was just a few things about the customizations. Just click around, look at the style, icon, color and background, go into settings, go into style settings, and just play around with the settings. There are just so many ways you can customize how you want to work with Notebook Navigator. Before I wrap this up, I quickly wanted to talk a bit about frontmatter. Obsidian creates all files as markdown files, and each markdown file has an optional frontmatter section. You can see this if you switch to source mode. It's the area between the 3 dashes at the top of the file. Not all files have this, but in this case I have a property called created with the creation date. I typically add this to my notes just if in case the file date should change by the file system. You can enable Notebook Navigator to read properties from the frontmatter to use when listing the files in the list pane. You go into settings and notes tab, and on the top here you see a setting called use frontmatter metadata. If you enable this one, you can see 2 fields, icon and color. And this means that if you have an icon property set in your note, that icon will be used to display the note in the list pane. The format used by this property is the same as the very popular plugin Iconize. You can also read the color value directly from the property here. By default, icons and colors are saved into plugin settings by Notebook Navigator. If you instead, which I recommend, want to save the icons and colors to your front metadata, you enable this button here. If you already have saved icons and colors to your settings, there will be a button here that says migrate, which you can click to migrate data from plugin settings over to frontmatter for all your notes. You can also add fields for name, created and modified. So in case you have a specific field set to the name of each note that you want to show instead of the file name, maybe you use a system called Zettelkassen, then you can use this instead. Very handy. So look into this if you use frontmatter settings. Okay, this was it for the walkthrough of Notebook Navigator. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're really enthusiastic about getting started working with Notebook Navigator and Obsidian. If you have any questions or comments, you are very welcome to join our Discord server. And if you have any feature requests or bugs you find in the software, you're very welcome to post them in the GitHub page. I respond and read every single request posted to the GitHub, and I'm usually pretty quick fixing bugs and adding small new features as well. Longer feature requests take more time, but we will be working on this for a very long time. So if the feature isn't there now, there's a really good chance it will be in the near future. Thank you for listening, and happy note taking.